Hey boys, welcome back to the channel, and it's going to be a finals week one review, roundup, analysis, whatever you want to call it. And we're going to start out with, we'll start out with the Roosters-Panthers game first. But also, I just want to, honestly, dude, like there were some entertaining games and a lot of points were scored. But I've got to be honest, I wasn't feeling the first week of the finals. I just felt like the intensity wasn't there. Like I think a big part, like the amount of points being scored, like the defensive aspect just was non-existent for most of the games. And usually the finals, I mean, that's where it ramps up. That's where, teams are fired up. I just didn't feel that in this week. It was still, an enjoyable matches for sure, but I was a little bit let down with a lot of the games. But regardless, we'll talk about Roosters Panthers. I did get 3 out of 4 for the tipping, which was pretty. I think most people got 4 because most people would have picked the Panthers. The Roosters just got pipped here by 1, and this was a strange game. This was a weird game, dude. The Roosters once again started out like absolute. They were red hot. They scored 2 tries in the opening 10 minutes. Looked very impressive, and I thought, here we go. My tip is paying off here. And then after that, the Panthers just controlled the rest of the half. The Roosters' defense looked very, very awful once again, like the week before against the Rabbitohs. And then for some reason, I felt like it's just a weird game. Like the Panthers just didn't go on with it, and I felt like they just let the Roosters back into it. Not that they meant to let them in, but they just sort of. I felt like the Panthers stopped playing football a bit in that second half, and obviously the Roosters. I never really thought the Roosters were gonna win, but they almost did. They were mighty close to winning. It was just a strange game. It was a really weird game, and. Like, honestly, I felt like the Roosters, Jake Friend was a huge omission. SBW, no, obviously not him, but Jake Friend is back this week, and obviously I'll do a prediction for, the final games coming up here, but my prediction is that the Roosters will beat the Raiders just quickly, with Jake Friend coming back into the team, and I also thought that honestly, like, Hargraves was really awful. Tarkauho was okay. I thought Tarkauho was decent, but not at his best. So I'm like, the Roosters, some of their players just didn't look that good, and they still only lost by 1 point. And then on the flip side, the Panthers, they conceded 2 quick tries, but then they looked like they were going to absolutely decimate the Roosters, and then they almost lost. Weird game. And the one, oh my God, dude. I couldn't help but laugh. The absolute fool, Brett Naden. Oh my God, dude. What the hell was he doing? It's like, do you not know the rules of rugby league? He almost lost the game for them, and I would have loved it if that lost them the game. And I've got to be honest, I don't want the Roosters to win the grand final. And this is what would piss off people, because obviously there's Panthers fans and Roosters fans and whatnot. But there's not many teams I want to win the grand final this year. I don't want the Roosters to win 3 in a row, but I definitely don't want the Panthers to win. I just, honestly, watching them play, and don't get me wrong, like they deserve to be cocky, they deserve to be, full of it. They've been pretty dominant all year. God, they are frustrating to watch, dude. They even made me, like, versing the Roosters. Of all teams, I would usually be like, yeah, give it to the Roosters. Like, but they were even making me just not feel sorry for the Roosters, but I was just watching it like, God, I cannot stand some of these players for the Panthers. But honestly, it was only the 1 point, but I really didn't feel like it was that an amazing of a game. The scoreline makes it seem like an absolute thriller, but it just didn't have that. Like I said, didn't really have that intensity. I felt like, weird game for sure. But let's move on to Raiders v Sharks. Now, this one, again, I didn't think the Sharks would win. They started very, very well. Just sort of, similar to the Roosters. And they looked the better team for like the good chunk of the game. But then the Raiders got into their groove. Jack Hawaiian was very, very impressive. Thought George Williams was very good. He's been very good all year. And I thought their forward pack was just a little bit stronger than the Sharks. Backline just a little bit more class. And without Sean Johnson, the player that was just dynamic for the Sharks was Connor Tracy. He was, every time he touched the footy, dude, it looked like he was going to break the Raiders' defense apart. He was easily, I actually think, I don't know if he's the best player. Like, Jack Hawaiian was obviously, he came into his own, but Connor Tracy, he's got to be up there for best player on ground. He was incredible. But yeah, I'm just disappointed that Johnson wasn't playing, because I'm like, get rid of goddamn Townsend, because he's absolute trash. Have Tracy and Johnson. That would have been a pretty dynamic pairing. But yeah, there was obviously a little controversy, which wasn't really controversial because Wade Graham is a fool, and if you don't know the rules, then you can't really complain about it, because it's happened. It's not like that's the first time it's happened this year. There's been plenty of times where a captain's been like, I want to challenge it, and they're like, you can't challenge a ruck or play the ball, whatever they call it, play the ball interference. It's been said. So the fact that the Sharks players all turned their backs and didn't play to the whistle, and then just cried about them scoring a quick tap try. No sympathy at all. And it made me grin. It made me smile quite a bit when that happened. And Wade Graham carrying on like an absolute fool. And the refs make enough mistakes, but you can't really criticize the refs in that situation, dude. They made the right call. I was happy the Raiders won. Obviously, I don't particularly like the Sharks. I don't really like the Raiders that much either. But out of these two teams, I'd prefer the Raiders, and it leads to a nice game this week with the Roosters v Raiders redemption. It'll be. I know I said before that I think the Roosters will win, and I will talk about this in another video. But yeah, it'll be a good game. I hope it'll be a good game. I'm hoping there's gonna be some fire. Yeah, Raiders Sharks pretty comfortable in the end there, barring a little bit of controversy. Now the Storm v Eels. Now, again, this one was a pretty easy game to tip. And I've got to be honest, dude, the Eels are lucky they didn't get absolutely blown away. I don't know how many tries the Storm bombed in that opening 20 minutes, and the Eels obviously got out to a 12-0 lead, and but even in that time when the Eels got to 12-0, I was not concerned at all, because I know the commentators kept saying that the Eels' defense was incredible and they just kept thwarting the Storm. No, incorrect. 100% wrong. The Eels' defense was absolutely god-awful. The Storm kept bombing the tries, dude. The Eels' defense was abysmal. Now, obviously, a little bit rough early on with Micah Sivo going down. It meant a reshuffle. And that really, it seemed to really screw them over, because Wanga Blake, I actually forgot that Wanga Blake was even playing in the game. It was a weird one, because Wanga Blake obviously went to the wing, and for some reason, he must have thought if he's playing on the wing, he doesn't need to touch the football or do any tough runs. And I was just like, really? What is he doing out there? He wasn't doing any defense, that's for sure. So, yeah, it really screwed with their team, obviously. And then Fergie getting an injury later on in the game, which is obviously not good for them this week. But, yeah, honestly, the Eels were not impressive. The Storm looked really good, but then also really bad as well. But the Storm were impressive, and then this game just dwindled as well. Like it like the other games, it just didn't really have that intensity that you would expect from a top 4 finals match. But yeah, the Eels were lucky they didn't get 50 put on them. Honestly, they got a few tries to make the scoreline seem respectable. But yeah, I mean the Storm bombed some tries in that game, but they look sharp, dude. The Storm just looked over enthused, and it's not surprising because obviously they rested so many players last week. A lot of those guys coming back in were probably, they were fit and ready to go, but they came up with a few silly decisions late in an attacking raid. But yeah, pretty comfortable for the Storm in this one. And then the final game, Rabbitohs v Knights, and this one was just not very entertaining because the Knights were once again awful. They were so bad. Even though getting out to an early lead, I don't know. I mean, Gus kept saying I don't want to copy what Gus says, but he's right. Like it was a strange week where the Roughies got out to early leads and then just faltered. I mean, the Rabbitohs. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I didn't even think the Rabbitohs were that good. I mean, especially, I don't know. The Rabbitohs were disappointing coming off that victory against the Roosters. I thought, you can't let in such easy tries at the start like that. But obviously, they switched on. Cody Walker had a great game again. The forward pack was far better. Honestly, I don't know. Dude, the Knights... I obviously the big news coming out is like Dave Clemmer has been dropped, and I fully endorse that, dude. I do not know what has happened to Clemmer in the last month or so. At the start in the middle of the year, Clemmer was like the best prop running around. He was playing like 60, 70 minutes straight. He was getting an offload away, just tackling everything, strong carries, and now in this last month or so, I don't know if he's playing injured or not, but his minutes have dropped. His impact has gone down a hill. I don't know. Clemmer has hit a rough spot. Injury potentially, but yeah, form has gone downhill. Obviously the big news, Kalen Ponga is requiring surgery. And I know everyone is jumping on Ponga. I'm always a Ponga apologist, I guess you would say. Like, I'm a fan of Ponga. I think he's I don't know. People hate him because he's talked up a lot, but I mean, he's a genuinely good guy. Like he plays great footy. He can have the odd bad game, but it's just because the media loves him so much that people just hate on him. And I lose my mind a bit, but he had a bit of a bad game, and it sort of makes sense because, again, he's been injured for a while now with that shoulder, and, his form has probably dropped in the last month, like Clemmer, honestly. So, yeah, the Knights were not good. Anari Tuala's defense was, oh boy, it was bad on that edge. He had a real rough game. Mitchell Pearce again. Dude, this is the thing that gets me, is that everyone is up Ponga. Like, everyone is calling for Ponga. Like, Knight should sack him. It's the best thing to happen in Queensland that he's gone. Like, everyone is just on Ponga. But then you got a guy like Mitchell Pearce, one of the most overrated players of all time, doesn't do anything. He doesn't cop a word. I'm just like, Mitchell Pearce, he's meant to be the halfback of this team. He doesn't do anything out there. But yeah, that's the week 1 roundup of the finals. Like I said, a bit disappointing. Some entertaining games, some good tries, but just wasn't the intensity I was hoping for. But hopefully moving forward we can get a little bit more fired up. And yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Make sure to like and comment, and I'll see you in the next one.